Hello everyone. That's where you say hello back.
Hello. Hi.
Thank you. Jason's with us. Right, I'm going to try and run through the slides a little bit as quickly as possible because we've got 4 people speaking tonight and Steve is going to be watching me like a hawk watch to make sure that I'm done in time. And so this is my talk, scripting all things with Sitecore Powershell extensions. Like I said, I'm going to try and go through all the slides. A lot of it's demo based. I will try to fit in some questions if possible, but because time is short, I may not be able to do that, but I am going to be around for the rest of the evening, so if there's anything that you see tonight that you do have a burning question on, just grab me afterwards. I'm completely happy to talk more about it. In fact, I'll talk your ear off about Sitecore Powershell extensions if you like. Right, just a few brief words about me. That's my name, if you're wondering in case how it was spelt. I've been working with .NET for about over 10 years now, and Sitecore for about half of that. I work as a freelancer. My job title generally depends on where I'm working and what job title they like to give me. You know, sometimes it's solution architect, sometimes it's just the Sitecore developer or that guy who's working over there. Kasaka is my consultancy company, and it's also basically my Sitecore blog, my very, I was about to say undervalued, that's not true at all, my underdeveloped Sitecore blog. I try to keep up with people like Mike and Cam, who are just blogging all the time, but they are leaving me for dust, so basically you could go there. There are a few things there, but an awful lot, especially now that there's a Sitecore Slack group, which is also taking up all of my time. And if you don't know what that is, I'll mention it later again, and a few other people will, I'm sure. If you do want to catch me online, I'm on Twitter. I've actually got 2 accounts. I decided to split them because all my real-life friends would probably desert me for just retweeting Sitecore blogs and stuff all the time and just wondering what the hell that stuff is. So I have one for Sitecore stuff and another just for a better word, nonsense. Great, that's the self-indulgent stuff over with. Let's talk about Sitecore PowerShell extensions. Are we excited?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, we're all excited, aren't we? You should be. It's very good. Okay, so why Sitecore PowerShell extensions? Well, it's a module which aims to bring the flexibility and productivity of PowerShell into Sitecore. Let's talk about more why that's a good thing and what exactly that means. But I'm just going to give you some context to the module first. So first of all, it's available as a marketplace module. It's been in development around 2012, I think that's right. It's now version 3.3, it's an ongoing project. Version 4 is just around the corner.
It's almost out.
Yeah, they're just doing some regression testing for like Sitecore 7, I believe, so it's like any day now, version 4 will be out. It's open source, contributions are more than welcome. There's a full guide on how to contribute, and I'll give some more information on that at the end if you see this and do desperately want to get involved. And it's really good. I mean, like seriously good. Well, at least I hope you think so. And it has basically, there's 2 kind of key development contributors. There's Adam Nymanovic and Michael West, who are both Sitecore MVC PPs based in the US. And there are a number of other contributors, but these are kind of the 2 main developers, and they're seriously busy on the project. So yes, why would we want to use Sitecore PowerShell extensions, or SPE for short? So if you like picture this scenario, you've built a site, you've deployed it, but for some reason you need to perform an administrative task, such as shifting items about, migrating content like from one form to another. Or perhaps the client has requested you to make a change, something that's too fiddly for them to do over across 200 items. They could hire someone to do it in 5 days, but you know it's something that you could probably achieve in 5 or 10 minutes. So the sort of thing that you might be wanting to do there is, like I said, making a small change across a number of items, bulk renaming or moving items, removing items that are perhaps no longer referenced if you're wanting to clear out all the content. Producing perhaps like a report, like something like the oldest pages in your site, because your client needs to be able to know when this pages are stale and want to update them. Not only do they want that report, they want you to give it to them in Excel format. So you've got to write some custom thing to make sure that reports are written out. That's all kind of like the stuff that we're probably doing on a regular basis on lots of different projects, and there's lots of different scenarios you could probably think of. So how would you, if you didn't have a tool such as this, how would you probably go through like carrying out a task like that? One way you could possibly do it is probably you could maybe knock up an ASPX page with some code behind, drop it onto the admin site, execute it to do this job. Maybe it's tucked away in an admin folder that you've possibly secured. I'm sure probably we've all done that. I mean, don't do that because you're going to make these people cry, these little children. Every time you create an SPX page just for doing this sort of task, these children get upset. Just so you know, this is the reality you're facing here. But don't worry, we have all done it. I've done it on numerous occasions. I've worked on plenty of projects where it was a very quick and easy way to run these tasks. And it does work, but like I said, there's plenty of ways where it could go wrong, and it just, when you do it, it doesn't really feel like the best way to go about things. It feels a bit of a workaround. I've worked on projects where I've found these pages, not even in an admin folder, like in the root folder of the project. They've been deployed onto the server, and not even to the CM server, they're on the live delivery site, maybe waiting for someone to maybe hoping it accidentally not hit this ASPX page and just update a whole bunch of items because someone forgot to remove it. So these are the sort of things that could happen when you go about like this sort of way. Perhaps instead something a little bit better than that. You've written some C# behind code, but you've decided to actually integrate it into the Sitecore shell. So you've maybe used the Speak or like a Share UI to actually put something into the desktop so they can actually use it, which is obviously a lot better. That way, it's hopefully a bit more secure, and that's, to be fair, like a decent way of doing things. But it often requires quite a lot of like boilerplate code, and yeah, it requires a deployment. It's you get one of these requests in to carry out a small admin task, which you know the code's not going to take that long. But now actually you've got to deploy your whole code base to actually get this onto the site. It really feels like there should be like just something that you can just like quickly and easily do, and that's exactly what Sitecore Powershell Extensions is here to help you with. So with the module, you can create and manage these tasks as PowerShell scripts, and they're actually held in Sitecore items, so you're not actually having to deploy ASPX pages or code pages to the site. Plus, because they're Sitecore items, if you're using something like TDS or Unicorn, you can manage them in your source control and have them deployed onto your other servers. Alongside the storage of them, there's a full environment for executing these scripts. And on top of that, you actually still get 100% full Sitecore API and shell integration support. So effectively, there's nothing you can't do in this environment that you could do in the code behind page. So a little summary, it means you can write stuff quicker because you can just script things out and run them like straight on a production environment if you need to. You can reduce the number of deployments, which is, no one likes doing deployments, so that's really good. You're really happy, you can just like get stuff done a lot quicker. Now I know from speaking to a few people that not everyone's using like PowerShell, so I'm just going to spend too long on this, but I just want to give a very quick overview for anyone who's said this is well and good, but I've got no idea actually like what PowerShell is. So these are very just quick slides to kind of explain that. So the PowerShell is a command line shell and scripting language built on the .NET framework. It's a little bit modelled on the kind of like the Unix kind of bash world. Kind of like you've used DOS before. It's like the best of the Unix kind of scripting environment with pipelines and such, and it's just kind of a much better way of like approaching a command line interface in Windows. It was first released in 2009. It's at the time it used to be something a little extra that you'd install in Windows, but now it's basically baked into every version of Windows. And more than that, it's basically a core part of the OS. A lot of the functionalities are things that you do in Windows now, like be it you add a site in IIS or you change the permissions on a folder under the shell. It now runs PowerShell item. They've kind of like been quite dedicated about that to make sure they try and get close to a one-to-one mapping of everything in Windows you can actually do through PowerShell. That means you can script stuff and not have to rely on like dodgy kind of trying to do things through COM and just weird ways of like trying to actually do stuff that you know there's a GUI for, but you've got no idea how you can like programmatically actually do something. But that's Windows PowerShell, not Sitecore. So I'll just go through a couple of like the basic kind of ideas that are the PowerShell. The first thing are commandlets, which essentially is just their word for commands. They all take kind of the verb-noun approach to naming. So I'm not sure about how readable is this. Is this okay? It's just like the light is a little bit washed out. It's blurry.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you read it at all, or is it just completely blurry? Do you need contacts usually?
I'm right up front.
Is this readable like that? Okay, okay, that seems cool. So essentially this is just so that these are a few example commands that you get in PowerShell. These are the basic ones, and how they map onto, say, DOS commands. So like set location would be like a change directory in DOS. Get child item is like dir, as in saying get me all the children of this current hierarchy of the folder that I'm in. And then like copy item, this is the item I want to copy, and this is the destination that I want to send it to. So everything kind of, the commands are these special like commandlets in PowerShell. A little bit of light fading here to increase the moving.
Use some of the ones at the front if it's possible.
I'll just carry on what's happening. And so the biggest thing I think anyway, the kind of what's really cool about what's really cool about so they don't need to see me as long as they can read that. The more hidden I am, the better for everyone, so it's fine. Okay, so one of the core things about PowerShell is pipelines. So I'm only going to give like a very quick description of this, but it's the idea of that the output of any command can be pushed into another command, which really allows like you to do things very simply. For example, like if we take this top command, this is me saying I want to first of all get all the child items of this particular folder, i.e. all the files in this directory, and I'm going to send them all to the copy item command, which is, I'm not setting an item, I'm not specifying a particular item, I'm just specifying the destination. Basically all that does together is just say I'm going to take all these files and copy them into this folder. And you can change pipelines just as far as you want to go, basically. And another example, say actually I want to get all the files in this folder, and then I want to filter them by a particular clause, like so in this case I'm going to filter them, say get me all the files that haven't been updated in the last month, or have been updated at least within the last month, and then also sort those ones by that last write time, so I can just get, that's kind of like a little semi-report. Finally, this is just a small one, is just everything can also be aliased. So this is a bit lengthy, but you can also turn it into a nice little one-liner, so you can feel like an Uber hacker when you're just writing this stuff out, just flashing out tiny. So instead of get child item, we can do GCI, instead of where object, and just throw in a question mark, and instead of sort object, we can do sort. But essentially, syntactically, these are 100% the same. And essentially, PowerShell is basically an absolute ton of other stuff. It's got full support for functions, remoting for running stuff on other machines, running jobs in the background, modules which allow your commandlets because you can write your own custom commandlets, allow them to be packaged up and deployed on other machines. It's supplied, and you'll all have it on your machines, PowerShell, the interactive scripting environment. Integrated, thank you. No, that's fine, thank you. And which has got full support for debugging. And finally, on PowerShell, this is a little bit inside information, but the PowerShell runtime, what actually executes in PowerShell, can actually be hosted by any managed .NET application. All that really means is that's what allows the Sitecore integration magic to happen. That's what allows Sitecore to run PowerShell on the host machine that it's on from within Sitecore. I can give a link to this, Adam, my manager, has done a video going into way more into detail with a very good diagram if you really want to know exactly how PowerShell is invoked from within Sitecore. So, enough talking. Let's get on some demos. Hopefully they all go well, and I don't get upset.
Beer fuel.
What's that?
Beer fuel.
Yeah, beer fuel. Okay. Fortunately, I don't think I've got to do much typing. I've just got to hold this mic unless I switch to the headset. So this is a Sitecore 8.1, and so like I said, it's a marketplace module. When you install PowerShell, you're going to get a bunch of stuff kind of added in by default. Just going to check my run through. How long have I been? 15 minutes. You're going to get like 2 demos and then I'm out, I'm afraid. Just going to see like one command and that's all I've got time for. Okay, so I'm going to go very, very quickly. Once you've got the project installed, you have a few things a few new items that have appeared in your desktop menu. First of all, we have the PowerShell console, which so basically here's my Windows PowerShell console, which you may have seen before if you're already using PowerShell. This is essentially the same thing, but it's actually running within Sitecore, and it's using a Sitecore provider, so all of the commands that I may run, which I'll show you more of in a second, are actually doing things like Sitecore items, not files on a hard drive. The console, you can use it. It's okay if you just want to run a quick command, but there's a much better environment, which is the PowerShell ISE, which stands for...
Integrated Scripting Environment.
Thank you. So this is much the same thing, but it actually allows you to, load up particular scripts, and you get syntax highlighting, and you can edit them, and you get some IntelliSense as well. So this is this ISE. Before, I'll just come back to that and just show you a couple of other things that you get. You'll also notice there's a PowerShell toolbox here, which when you click it, just has a bunch of, I don't know how readable that is on the screen, but it has a bunch of basically some scripts that come loaded with. PowerShell comes with a ton of, PowerShell extensions comes with a ton of scripts that have already been written, which off the bat, you just basically get a bunch of useful tools that you might have installed as separate modules, but now they're just pretty small scripts that they've included, such as an index viewer, seeing who's a logged in session manager, this sort of thing. So toolbox is just kind of where you can add miscellaneous scripts that you want to run. And in the reporting tools, there's also a ton of, zooming on that as well, there's a ton of reporting tools that come with it as well. So if you use something like Advanced System Reporter, the SR, which is quite a popular module, this effectively kind of does what that does, and it also makes it quite a bit easier to create your own scripts. So there's a bunch of scripts, a bunch of reports in here which already do kind of a lot of stuff that's in ASR. So if you're using that and you're thinking of using this, you probably don't need both. Maybe not. I don't know.
Could you run one of those?
Could I run one?
Yeah, please.
We'll be doing reporting later. Wait, are you just unsure it'll work, or?
Just check.
Okay. We'll see. I'm gonna hopefully get.
It's one of the beautiful things of the module.
Oh yeah, definitely. I want to make sure I've got reports, and it's something I definitely want to hit. So just to run through kind of so now I've got my ISE. So that get child item that I mentioned before, which is a standard PowerShell command. A lot of the standard PowerShell commands have had their kind of Sitecore representations created. So if I was to execute, basically I can see I'm setting the location, but I'm not talking about files here. I'm actually working with Sitecore items. So I'm setting the location to Sitecore layout. So when I get a child item, I'm basically getting back a whole bunch of the items that sit underneath that. It's also, pardon me, there's some nice, there's a nice little feature here where anytime an ID is mentioned in the result view, it's actually a hyperlink. So if I get something back, I can click on that link, and whoop, it'll take me straight to the take me straight to the item in Sitecore. I'm going to skip over a couple of these, I'm afraid. Actually, I've got 10 different things here, but I'm just going to show you the more important ones. So just because I want to make sure that we get some of the latest stuff covered. If you're unsure about what a command might do, you can highlight it and hit Control-Enter, and you get some kind of built-in manual here in PowerShell, which will explain exactly what the command does, what its aliases are, the syntax, and essentially kind of every parameter that you can call on that, which is very useful if you're trying to figure out what's going on. And so this is really just to show kind of like, as well as get child item, how like these, like you can use parameters to do certain things. So for example, if I want to say, I actually want to get all the children, but I want to make sure this recurses down, it gets me all children. Did I hit execute? I didn't. So then I actually get, you know, a ton of items that appear underneath that. This is actually what's being returned and displayed here is this Sitecore item. If I wasn't interested in the full Sitecore item and I just wanted to say take every item, but just get me the full path property out there because I just need a list of those, then I can run this, and instead it's a collection, like the pipeline's returning back a collection of strings. And like saying you can like specify extra properties if you want. There are other ways to get the item if you want to just specify getting a particular item. Who can guess what this item might be? Who knows their Sitecore IDs, the standards on there? Ooh, it's the standard template, I'm afraid, Steve. Collect your consolation prize at the bar. So that's if you know the particular ID, or don't forget about Sitecore query. If you actually just want to run some Sitecore query, just straight into get item, you can pass a query, and yeah, so that's actually executing that query and getting all those items back. So that's just a introduction to like kind of the basic commands that you can use, or one basic command, but just kind of this kind of environment that you can run things in. I will mention all this stuff later. For now, I'm just jumping straight into. I was going to go over every bit of what this script does, but I'm actually going to summarize it, I think, for time. So this is an example where I've written a script to generate a whole bunch of pages for the sake of my demo. So for example, I've created a few arrays here in PowerShell, like one of titles, one of just some lorem text, and one of like references to a particular Sitecore item, i.e. just an ID. And basically I've written a script, and you can see it's not too much. I'm not going to go over every line of it, but I'll put these scripts up if you do want to know exactly how they work. But what it's going to do is going to iterate over a couple of different templates, going to spin around them 10 times and generate a whole bunch of pages for me with some random content in them. So this is actually a pretty, even though it's created for the demo, it's actually pretty handy, and I've used it before if I need to just quickly create a bunch of demo content based on templates that I've created, so clients can see. So I've got my home item up here. Let's pull this up so you can see a bit more, and I execute. It's just spun over this and just create a whole bunch of pages for me, which is nice and easy. Nice little cat header on this one. So you can see in here it's put a random title in here, well, it's concatenated a few things together, it's chosen some random hipster lorem ipsum content, and that ID is actually referencing a header, which is down here, global headers. I've got a cat and a dog, so there's a few, because it's random, there should be some with cats, and hopefully, yeah, here's one with a dog. I wanted to preview, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so it's just showing that I've got a layout which is just showing a different header. I'll close that and not worry about the editor. So let's say, as an example, sort of task that you might be required to do. Say, I mean, this is quite a trivial task, so it may not be something they actually need to do, but it's just to illustrate. You're asked, hey, we've got a whole bunch of pages, and the header is pointing to a, let's see if I get this the right way around, a dog, and we actually want to find every item that's referencing the dog. Can we change that so it's referencing the cat header? We don't want to delete the dog, which would be nice if we could use the broken links, but we actually just want to repoint all of these items over to the cat. For some reason, I don't know why. So here's an example, and this is a tiny script. You can see there's really not much to this. I start off with my context up here. So in IC, I can say this context here is where this script is going to run. I'm setting up a couple of the IDs and variables just for so making the rest of the script a bit easier to read. So I'm essentially going to say for every page in the children of this item, if that page is, if the template is a demo page, because I don't actually have created these pages and I don't want to change these ones, I only want to change the demo page. If it's already pointing at a dog, then change it to a cat. So I'll run that. Oh, I only had 3 that are pointing to a dog, so 268 it reckons it's changed, so I had 6, which is, so now that's changed to a cat. Super exciting, right? I know. And this is everyone loves cats. It's a much better header to have on the page. I've written this in quite a verbose manner just to make it kind of a bit easier to read. If you are someone who likes to have their scripts as tight and as short as possible, so only you can read them and no one else can. This can, I mean, that's job security, right? Isn't it? So this is you can do the same thing in a one-line representation. So effectively, this time I'm going to get all the children items and I'm going to pipe them. If you remember, this is quite similar to the script I showed you on the Windows PowerShell. So take all the items, then pipe them through this where filter to check, like, is it the template name is demo page and the header is dog, and if so, for every one of those, set the header to cat. And so that does exactly the same thing as one, except for the white host. And if you really want to be verbose, then remember you've got the aliases, so actually you question mark, etc. I'm not going to get child item, but that get child item could be anything. You could execute a get item with a query to find demo pages across your entire site if you really need to. So it's a simple task, but it's ridiculously simple to do that. And not a single ASPX page used anywhere. And it's just to show, even though you can, I mean, you may be thinking like query seems to be a better idea. So yeah, for the sake of my example, I've been iterating over getting all items and then iterating over them to basically run an if query. But of course, don't forget, at the end of the day, you can still use a Sitecore query, which may well likely be faster to execute that same thing and then make the change after that. As always with Infinite Sitecore, there's 10 different ways to do the same thing. 5 minutes. That's ridiculous.
Sorry,
These people are well excited to see every demo, Steve. It's okay, I'm going to get onto reports now. These are last. Oh, I really want to do the integrations. Okay, I might skip remoting. I'll tell you about remoting instead. We to tell him, not me. Right. So that was just running a change, but I also mentioned the reporting, which is really cool. If I do say so myself, I'm actually going to change those. I forgot. I need to change those dogs back to cats for the sake of this report. So by cats, we've got some dogs, a mix of dogs back in now. Hopefully, yeah. So this time I'm going to effectively almost do the same thing. I'm starting with my home item, I'm going to get all the children item, find the ones which are a cat, but this time I'm sending them to a command called show list view. Just a couple of words, but look what they can do. I run this, instead of the items coming out in a console, a list view is fired up, and this is basically like a reporting dialog, which is shown. So now I can see all the items that have returned, but I've got a few extra things that I can do with them. I can filter them. This basically just, there's a filter text box which kind of runs across all of the fields that are displayed here. So I had a few different ones so I've got page where I can type demo just to filter them here. And the really exciting stuff that's built in for free is, as I said, you may be required to create reports for people. I can take those items and take this data and say, just give that to me in HTML form because I need to send this over to someone. And then boom, it's just dumping out an HTML page that I can send. Likewise, we've got CSV, XML, Excel, JSON if you need it. And you can see because I return like the item, it's effectively, there's a set kind of like bunch of parameters that it's showing, and there may be a bunch of things that I don't actually really need in this report, like this languages, which is an array, isn't particularly useful to me here. So I can run a more custom version of this query. So I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I'm this time going to set up a title and a description for the report. So I'm going to use a few parameters on show list view to say here's the title, here's the description, and then these are the properties that I want to show. And each of these properties can be an expression, so this one I'm digging down to get the path, but another one I'm actually, for every one of these, go get the header field out of it, and then get that item, and then get the path from that. So now when I run this, I get a slightly different view. I get my super...
Hi, this is Alex. We had a little technical issue with the audio of the presentation at this point, so I'm just re-recording this bit to fill you in on what was lost. At this point in the demo, I just executed a command to run a custom report. This time I've passed in a title and description, and you can see that these are shown at the very top of the report in the yellow box. I've also specified the exact properties that I want to show, so this time you can see there's far fewer columns and they each correspond to the properties that I've passed in. As I provided an expression for the header property, this has been evaluated for each row in the report, and you can see that for the header column we have the path to the referenced header item. Now, at this point, the demo was paused briefly whilst I answered a question from an audience member. The question was to ask what would have happened with the header property in the report if it had been a broken link. At the time I wasn't sure, but I suspected that the report may bubble up this error and actually not execute. I explained that as the header field was simply an expression, that expression could be altered to handle errors or missing references gracefully. However, since I'm re-recording this, I've been able to run a quick test on the demo site to see what actually does happen in this case. If the expression for a property in the report generates an error, then this error is simply swallowed and an empty value is shown in the property in the report. The audio is now about to come back in, and I'm going to move on to talking about running custom actions against the items returned by a report.
These over here you get actions, and this is you can do the same thing in ASR, so where you can say depending on the thing that's returned, in this case an item, you can associate scripts that you want to run on those particular things. So in this case I've set up an action called delete, which operates on items, and then that's going to run another script and pass in the items that I select in this report. So in this case, if I wanted to say delete these 3 items because I don't want them anymore, I hit delete. That's actually execute another script that I've written, which is a very simple script. All it does is say, take the items that I've got, pipe them into the delete command, then reload this view. That's all it needs to do, and suddenly it's not just a reporting tool. I've actually got some nice admin functionality here that I can use, and you can build any kind of actions that you want here. The sky is the limit, and there's the default one here is just open. If you just want to open that item.
I just want to call out that you can actually add buttons to everything that we're doing.
Yes, yeah. Because it's all built on Sitecore, and everything is super extensible. And what I'm going to show now is the integrations, which takes this report and just makes it even a little bit better. So, let's say I've got my report here for finding my cat items. What I'm going to do is jump into my content editor here and go to where PowerShell is located, which is System Modules PowerShell, Scripts Library. So you get a whole bunch of libraries that come with it. I've been creating one here called Demo, which is where I've got kind of script library, which is just an ad hoc scripts. But Sitecore PowerShell comes with a whole bunch of what's called integration points for creating scripts that then integrate with various bits of Sitecore. So I can go right-click Integration Point Libraries, and I get a little box here. I'll go over these just very quickly in a slide, but for now I'm just going to show you. I'm going to click Toolbox, and I'm going to click Content Editor, Context Menu. So I've got a couple of points here. I'm going to save this, so let's just delete some stuff here. I'm going to save this, so do save as, and drop this same script into my toolbox. Helps if I put a name. So that should be saved in there, and now it's appearing here. So that's the kind of very simple integration, so that if you run a script and you don't actually want something to have to go to ISE to open it, they've now just executed it there, and you can run the same thing. And another integration point. So that's kind of general toolbox scripts. what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to remove this set location. So this get child item, now I'm not really changing the location of the script. It's going to kind of work with whatever context the script starts with. So if I save this time in my content editor context menu, again, it'd be helpful. And hopefully, right click. Now when I go to right click on item and go scripts, I've got my super fun scripts is sitting here. So I've got the scripts item, there's a bunch of other scripts that already exist there. But my script is now running here. And the way this integration works is whatever item you select it in, that's what gets passed in the current context. So this is now running under, basically did exactly the same thing, but I told it to run on the home item, but I could now run that kind of wherever I want. I mean, like for instance, I could run it, on the dictionary. I won't get an awful lot of joy out of it because there's no cats underneath there. Now, for instance, last thing on this integration. So this is actually, even though you generally use the IC for editing your scripts, these are where they're stored, and you can see there's a script body here, but you don't really want to be editing scripts there, it's a bit tedious. But I can go to this, and there's a couple of rules here, so I can say, see this, I've got show if rules are met or not defined. So I can create an edit rule, say this script only makes sense underneath the content tree. So let's say I'm going to add a rule to say where the item is the home item, let's say, home item. So just make sure that you can all see that. I've added a rule where the item is the home item or one of its descendants. That's now the rule for deciding whether to show this script. So now, if I right-click on a different item, oops, it helps if I save and changes. Come on, there we go. Now it doesn't appear because it doesn't make sense for it. I've decided it doesn't make sense for this script to be run anywhere else, but I still get it under my home item. That's basically the integrations. I think the context item one is really useful, so you can now use that for anything else. You get a whole bunch of them. Like this one is awesome. There's a packaging one. This comes just like for free with Sitecore Powershell. It's one of the libraries they've got here. I can just select an item and say I can either start a new package and then start clicking around items, say add this into the package that I've just created, or I can just select any item, go quick download this whole branch as a package, and just download a zip of it. Super useful. Gonna have to wrap up. I think that's about it. Okay, I don't have time for the remaining demo, unfortunately. It's very, very simple, but maybe if you've got it yourself, Mike, I don't know, maybe you can find some time later on. Okay, so that's, like I said, there's tons of integration points. Where is my... Okay, so just to wrap up, I mentioned the integration points, so there's just a quick slide. There's a whole ton of them. So you get a bunch on the content editor, you get the context menu, gutter, insert, item, ribbon, warnings if you want to display warnings in the editor. Then there's a whole bunch of other ones like the control panel, page editor notifications, actually a couple of pipelines which have been hooked into like the logged in pipelines, so if you want something to execute every time someone logs in. Like I said, we saw the toolbox as well. And finally, there's the web API, which is what you can use if you want to expose a script into being called like remotely just through it exposes it on a URL. Now, I'm sure that's what's going through your heads. It's amazing. Where do I get it? Like I said, it's a marketplace module. It's the easiest thing to do is if you just Google Sitecore Powershell, you'll find it. There's a bit.ly link here. If you can remember SC PowerShell, and put it in, but the easiest thing is Sitecore PowerShell. There is a manual that comes with it as well, which is being built using it's basically called a Git book. So if you do search Sitecore PowerShell Git book, it has all the data that you can see. When I showed you that get child item, like the manual help, that's in there for every item as well. And there's a bunch of other information. There's links to various demos that show off bits of the functionality, and that's kept up to date. I don't know if you're on the Sitecore Slack group or not. It gets mentioned here pretty regularly now. That's the URL. There's a few people you can ask here tonight to join. And Steve, Mike, there's a bunch of admins here. And there's a whole channel for it, so module SPE. So if you have any questions, if you're having trouble using it, you can do that. But people in there are very, very helpful, and you generally get a reply, and you will get a reply. If you do want to contribute to the project, you are more than welcome to it. The Git book that I mentioned has got a full guide on how to get the dev environment up and running. It's pretty straightforward. You can join the Slack channel and come chat with us and collaborate. It's really easy to do. They are fully open to pull requests and stuff. I've done a few kind of little fixes. That's basically it. Sorry, I don't have time for a couple more demos, but I think I covered the main stuff. If you do have any questions, or I don't have time for any questions, but just grab me afterwards and we'll chat about it some more if you like.
Brilliant.
Okay.